get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor Olmstead, and I want to welcome you back to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me are my co-hosts, Tyler Reed and Sean Evans.
Today I learned that Corey Taylor really loves his grandma.
Oh, that's nice.
Remind me again who Corey Taylor is?
He's the singer of Slipknot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess even weird masked demon figures come from somebody, right? Everybody's got a mom.
Well, technically, I mean, he would come from somebody who came from that person.
Anyway, Tyler, what was our challenge this week?
Ooh, this week, we're trying to find the spookiest Misfits song. And listen, if you're not gonna commit to the bit, Taylor, I'm gonna have to, and you know what that means. It's gonna be a disaster.
So the Misfits were a New Jersey-based horror punk, hardcore, heavy metal group, originally composed of Glenn Danzig, Jerry Only, and a rotating cast of bassists and drummers, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of room for Black Flag.
Yeah, lots of various members of Black Flag as well. So the Misfits were generally beloved in the underground scene. They were active from 1977 to 1983 before Danzig left the band to create Samhain, which then became the eponymously titled Danzig, a heavy metal band that he fronted and wrote all of the music for. And by the time that Danzig was starting to get off the ground with his solo project, there was a lot of interest in the Misfits. A lot of their admittedly very poorly recorded songs were remastered and re-released on various compilations. Danzig himself went in and re-recorded a bunch of the songs and released them as the Misfits on a couple of compilations. And they've since kind of had this legacy of being an influential hardcore band of the late 70s and early 80s, as well as kind of inventing the genre of horror punk. Tyler, you want to give the folks some ideas of like what horror punk is, what that means, if they've never listened to the Misfits before?
If you can imagine like any B-movie horror film, generally campy things, kind of gross, kind of schlocky, or maybe if you like Akira, just spooky things. It's kind of just based around that thing. So it's really based on the theme, really, more or less, than any like particular like sound in particular, other than it is tries to sound spooky. It's really not a very fleshed out genre, actually. It kind of eventually evolved into like psychobilly. And they kind of like, you could kind of, if you're not paying attention, they're kind of the same thing, with just one has like an upright bass.
But there's generally this like macabre sensibility to the lyrics or to the costumes. It's a lot of like costuming and visuals, I would say. But Misfits in particular were known for writing songs that were either about horror movies or felt like they were ripped out of a horror movie with a lot of gratuitous violence in them. And of course, they had the iconic skull logo and popularized the devil lock haircut, which is where you grow all of your bangs down into a point that goes past your chin and then just shave everything else off.
It's a good look. It's classic.
It is a classic.
It's a classic. It's classy and classic.
Sean, what was your first exposure to the Misfits?
Probably a t-shirt at Hot Topic.
Hey, just like everyone else.
That skull logo, man, it was everywhere. It still is everywhere.
For kids who don't know what Hot Topic is, it used to be a store that was in a shopping mall. I know, you probably don't know what those are, but believe it or not, before Amazon, you used to have to go get your band shirts either from a concert, weird, or from a store in the mall, weirder, but still.
Hey, Hot Topic still exists. It just sells like anime stuff now.
But then where do you go to buy your Misfits t-shirt?
I mean, you still go to Hot Topic. They still got it. Don't you worry.
Etsy.
Probably.
Etsy? Go to Depop, get a vintage one?
I want to say it was friend of the show, Kevin, who first showed me the Misfits. I feel like maybe his older brother gave him a Misfits CD, or he like bought one in a clearance bin or something. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I'm almost certain it was either him or you, Tyler, that kind of exposed me to them, because I remember listening to it and then getting what the t-shirt was. Like, I thought the t-shirt was like a TV show or something for the longest time. Like, I didn't know what that skull was. Turns out I wasn't quite wrong. The skull is based on an old film serial from the 1940s, which I learned while doing some research on the Misfits this week. And then as I got into the Misfits, it was right around the time that like Glenn Danzig joined social media. And y'all, Glenn Danzig's social media is buck wild. He kind of became a meme in like the late 2000s and the rise of Twitter. There's of course the classic website How Many Danzigs, where you can measure literally anything in the measurement quantity of Glenn Danzig's, whether it's his height, his weight, his volume, etc. And he has since, gone on tweet storms with people who are hating on him. It's definitely worth checking out. We'll link in the show notes to his Twitter. Misfits did have a life after Danzig. They reformed in 1995 with a different vocalist and were active up through the early 2000s. And then Danzig actually recently rejoined the Misfits, really within the last few years, and they've been doing some very limited but high-profile shows. They're actually headlining Madison Square Garden this week for a Halloween special show. But I always felt like the Danzig period was the essential Misfits, and so when I was picking my song this week, I knew that it had to be Danzig. I didn't want any of this Michael Graves reboot Misfits. Like, that's just not really the Misfits to me. And then when I was really thinking about it, I really wanted it to be something off of Static Age. I don't know, sorry. Let me make sure that my pick is actually off of Static Age.
It is.
Yeah, I really wanted it to be something off of Static Age, which was their first album that was unreleased until essentially 20 years after it was recorded.
Oh my goodness.
Bits and pieces of it had been released on compilations, but it was the first Misfits album that I had, and I didn't even know that it had been like this holy grail to like finally get Static Age released. I just always thought of it as the first Misfits record until I started doing some research, so...
Right, because it's the good one.
I just thought that was kind of a... It is the good one. The second one's okay. But I think Static Age is probably the best. The recording quality is not great, but the songs are really brutal and kind of campy, and that's the Misfits that I was looking for. But how did you guys pick this week?
I didn't want to pick anything off of Static Age because I figured that someone was going to pick it off there no matter what. And I like Static Age a lot, but I was like, let's pick something new, something weird. And as you will see,
yeah, you did.
I think I really got it down this time. So I'm looking forward to talking about mine.
I didn't want to pick Hybrid Moments, even though I do think that is probably objectively their best song, I would probably say. And we already picked Where Eagles There. I already picked that. So, I mean, those are like the two best songs, like already kind of off the board. So I said, well, because I really didn't feel like you guys berating me because I chose the most popular song. So I said, what is a song that like when you listen to it, you're like, oh, this is supposed to be dumb. You're like, oh, they're doing this on purpose. I get it now. Because like I feel like if you listen to it sometimes, you're like, this is messed up. The things you were saying, Glenn Danzig, are not okay. He talks about killing, raping, like flaying, just having a sexually enjoyable time with someone, or like it's about like zombies. You're like, well, maybe he means this. I don't know, but I feel like my song, I was like, this is a song where you're like, okay, this is a bit. You're playing a game with me.
Yeah, I think we all kind of ended up picking campier Misfits songs as opposed to some of the more brutal and gory Misfits songs that are out there. Particularly some of that stuff on Static Age. It's real dark.
Yeah, it is.
We did a special on our previous podcast, Dudes Brunch, about how we feel about listening to some of the Misfits songs here in the 20-teens. And some of them have not aged super great. So I'm glad that we kind of went the camp direction with this one. because some of those songs are rough.
Do I have anything to say about that? Do we need to talk about that?
No, I think I'll link in the show notes to that special, and if people want to hear us talk more about kind of how not woke Misfits are, you can go back and listen to that. But the consensus we generally landed on is that they're an important band and they were producing something that was of its time, and so you kind of have to respect it as being what it was. But with that being said, I think we should probably work our way through these in chronological order, just so folks who are not familiar with Misfits can kind of get a scope of the career. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so then that would make me go first, since my track is off of Static Age, which was recorded in 1978-79, though it wasn't released until the 90s. My song this week is Teenagers from Mars. So Teenagers from Mars is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is a campy, hardcore song, kind of following the plot of like a hypothetical B movie about alien teenagers from Mars that come down to Earth, and they are of the age of mutants, and yeah, they are the angel mutants. The streets for them are seduction. They're here on this B film Born Invasion, and they've seen your 3D movies of violent abduction, and they blast your mindless structures. But more than anything, Teenagers from Mars, they don't care. And that hook, Teenagers from Mars and we don't care, Teenagers from Mars and we don't care, is just so catchy and so simple and so angry that's what I'm looking for out of a Misfits song. I just want 1.5 to 2.5 minutes of slightly melodic yelling about schlocky B-movie monsters and being angry. And that's what this song is. There's not a lot to talk about. But it's a good Danzig performance, and I really just enjoy it.
This is definitely Danzig on the more punk side of things. Because I feel like he has two modes. He has the one where he just yells, and the other one where he's kind of like crooning or kind of doing like an Elvis like impression a little bit. It's kind of like, what's that? Like a little like rockabilly a little bit. Yeah. So this is definitely in that other side. I definitely prefer the latter, but I do think this is a good track. I mean, it doesn't quite strike me as like this is like the best one, but it's like, you know, like it's a good track. Like it's never gonna be like your first pick, but I think it's a good song that kind of fills out the album. Like it doesn't feel like filler, but it's like it's kind of it's a deep cut. That's literally what I'm saying, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I do think the vocal imagery is very disturbing. Now that I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, this is these aliens are having a good time, but these women are not. But that seems to be a common theme here.
Not exactly a feminist, Glenn Danzig, or at least not at this point in his life. Granted, he was a teenager or in his early 20s when he wrote this, so.
Is Glenn Danzig a feminist? Google. What is it? Vegan still alive, touring with the Misfits. Jim Morrison's son, evil. Well, I mean, he could be a lot of those things.
Well, if there's anything that I think this song is, it's like easy and catchy like that. I don't know. I feel like yelling "Teenagers from Mars and we don't care" is like a very easy thing to learn very quickly. And maybe if you feel like you're socially ostracized or something, you can really relate to this song. So that's about all the commentary I have on this one. I like Static Age a lot. Not because I like support it lyrically, but I just think like as a punk album, it's pretty good. And as kind of the album, I would call it, of like horror punk, it's a great place to start. So I like this pick. I think this is a good like non-classical Misfits song.
Well, then let's keep the train on a rolling to the Misfits' second recorded album, but first released studio album, Walk Among Us from 1982, with Tyler's pick. Tyler, what do you have?
This week I chose Skulls by the Misfits. Like I kind of said in discussion, this is a real dumb song. There's not a lot of meat on these bones. he's like, hey, Skulls, need them, want them, gotta have them. Why? He doesn't really say. He really actually never goes on to explain why he specifically needs all them. I just assume he's a pervert.
That's a good guess.
I was going with just having a, like you ever meet somebody that just has a really good collection of something,
Baseball cards.
Like some people are just into it, like they're into
Baseball
like
cards, stamps,
having the most up-to-date
skulls,
guitars or
cameras,
most up-to-date or baseball cards or something. Danzig's really into skulls. And he doesn't want your skulls. He wants and needs your skulls. There's something even more primal about that.
The double emphasis should not be understated.
Yeah,
he's really letting you know how much he wants them. But I think,
are you not a little flattered too that Danzig wants your skull on his wall?
That's true. He's
Danzig. He could have anyone's skull, but he wants your skull on his wall.
People would probably willingly give up their skull to Danzig, but to provide any additional meaningful commentary about this song, I think the song stands on its own as a 2-minute long song where he barely says anything different. It's just the power of Danzig's vocals. It's just like he really puts it all in every time, and just because he's saying the same thing over again, that doesn't mean he's saying it the same way. And I feel like you can feel that. It's almost like there's like a conversation through the repetition. So like I think that's kind of fun. It's also like I said, it's also just a song you just show someone and you're like, this is real dumb. But then they're like, hey, actually this is kind of catchy.
That's the quality of the Misfits right there.
It's a great meme too, because it's like, you can say it to your friends, you go, haha.
Is that how you, when you have your next like friend hangout, instead of saying I love you or whatever, just be like, I want your skull.
I want your skulls.
Then wink at him.
So as far as the memes go, one of my favorite Misfits memes of all time is a pie graph of things the Beatles want: to hold your hand, to be your man, to stand next to you, and so on and so forth around the circle. Misfits, it's just one color, black, and it says skulls. It's the only thing they want. I really liked this quote from Aaron Laraviere. I probably said that wrong, from Stereogum, who ranked Skulls number 3 on his list of the 10 best Misfits songs. He says, and I quote, "It's essentially a wistful, yearning love song for your severed head." Which is a pretty dang good description. Putting aside the goofy lyrics, one of my favorite things about this song is actually the way it's mixed. One of the things about listening to Misfits recordings is there's like 5 versions of every song and none of them sound very good. But Skulls is one in particular where you can really hear the bass, and Jerry Only is just like going so fast on the bass line of this song. Like, he is really going for it, and I really applaud that. Like, you get the sense of how fast these guys could play and how like powerful that sound must have been live when you listen to this recording, because it just feels like full sprint the whole way. There's a reason it's less than 2 minutes long. Like, they just could not go any longer. Also, they said all they needed to say. They want your skulls. So then, last but certainly not least, we have Sean's pick from 2013's Horror Christmas EP. Sean, what is this thing that you have brought us?
The thing that I have brought you today is Island of Misfit Toys by Misfits. I just want to come out and say, I really don't like horror Christmas in general, so I wanted to find something to redeem it, right? And I thought, what's majorly horrifying to me? And the answer is creepy alive toys. I tried to explain this at work the other day when I was like, don't you think that actually Toy Story is very nightmarish? Like the whole idea that there are like living toys in your children's room at night. Like enough, it never occurs to people that like they're not the small soldiers kind of toys, but just like toys in general, just alive at night in your child's room. That is horrifying. That's horrifying. So just want to talk about this because there would be an island where horrifying toys go to live with horrifying boys and girls. Say it again.
They really do play up the horrifyingness of those Misfit toys on this.
Yeah.
More so than in the song from Rudolph, for sure.
Yeah, you think?
I like that it's not obviously a Christmas song. Like, if you're not paying attention to the words, it's not really a Christmas song, which is nice because it's kind of weird to have a Christmas song on our Halloween Misfits special. That being said, this is a completely different lineup of Misfits. It's Jerry Only, the original bassist on both bass and vocals. Des Cadena, who is in a bunch of other hardcore bands, on guitar. And then Eric Chupacabra Arce? Oh
my god.
On drums, and I've never heard of him.
He's probably not real.
So this is from the like pre-Danzig reunion Misfits of the 2000s. Not really my favorite Misfits, if I'm being honest. But I think Jerry Only gives a nice performance here. He really camps up that kind of Elvis vocal that Tyler was talking about, which is pretty common on Misfits tracks. And the mix is really good. You can hear all of the instruments, which is how you know it's not an original Misfits song. But this is really fun. I think it's a cool addition, and I'm excited by the fact that the Misfits even made a Christmas EP. There's apparently a cover of You're a Meetin' with Mr. Grinch on this that I now have to find. So definitely glad we talked about this. I need a copy of this on vinyl.
So I think the worst part about the song is how overproduced it is. It's definitely pretty squeaky clean. I kind of need some like film grain on this track. But I feel like that's kind of like, if I recall, like I listened to a little bit of The Devil's Rain, and I was like, it kind of reminded me of Green Day's like newer like production style, where there's just something about it. It just feels too crisp. You know, like I need you to murk this up a bit. But that being said, I think I probably like Jerry Only better than what's his
Michael
name?
Graves.
Yeah,
I'm not a Michael Graves fan at all.
Yeah, because at least Jerry Only was like kind of part of what was going on. Like he's like a.
I mean, he co-founded the band.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like if anyone's gonna, like, sing, like, it might as well be. And, like, he does a pretty good job. It's still kind of swooning to the audience a little bit. And you know, but there's just something about Danzig is just so able to just, like, bridge the gap between crude and clean. Like, there's just something about, like, his like style where it's like he could just shift automatically between those two styles, and it's just so you can't replace it. I mean, there's a reason why he's like an icon.
Yeah, no, you're right. This does have a more rockabilly feel, and when you read the comments under this video, there's a lot of people that are like, they kind of have sort of the same feelings that we have, where it's like, arguably this is okay, but it's not what I love about the Misfits, which is almost completely understandable because it's maybe, if this is going to sound weird, I watched a bunch of videos today about the Misfits, and apparently Misfits under Glenn Danzig is credited as written and composed by Danzig, and they talked to Doyle, and Doyle confirmed this, that like Danzig did write everything and then kind of just taught it to people. Like, oh, here you go, piece it together. And then they played it as a band. So, like, having the Misfits without Danzig almost seems like it shouldn't happen, right? It'd be like if the Ramones was made of the Strokes, but they were still called the Ramones and from New York, you know? It's not the same thing. Like, it's not... Like the Ramones they're a family, or like how Wonderwall is by the Wonderwalls. You know.
We know Wonderwall is by Oasis. People, please don't write us.
Wonder in the Wonderwalls. What a great Mr. Wonderful in the Walls of Wonder.
But that really terrible joke aside, I kind of do feel like that a little bit. Like, I don't know if I would. That's kind of why I picked it, because it is the Misfits, but it's not the Misfits of like Static Age Misfits, or like Give Me Your Skulls Misfits, or like, you know,
We Are 138 or whatever.
Yeah. It's not. It's a little bit different, and I feel like there is an audience out there that can appreciate this and doesn't see it as like I'm trying to think of a good vocabulary word for this, like a ripoff, for lack of a better vocabulary word.
Yeah, I mean, I would still go see this live for sure.
I would probably end up liking it better live.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, recently the production value, like the way it's like produced, really just bugs me sometimes. And I'm just like, I can't listen to. I would listen to like a crappy live version of this. That's fine. That's great, because there's no way it would ever sound like that.
All right, now it's time for notable B-sides, and these were songs that were, well, they're the Misfits of this one. So anybody got some notable B-sides?
The spooky sides.
I think it was already mentioned. Last Caress, probably. I know this one wasn't mentioned, but I actually really love it. Die, Die, My Darling. And what was my other one? The recording quality is just too bad to put on a playlist with other more modern songs, but I really love TV Casualty. It just sounds like it was recorded in a dumpster.
That one sounds like just like a Black Flag song, though. That one's like.
Sometimes I just like Black Flag, man.
You're allowed to like that. I'm just saying that song. I feel like in particular is like Static Age and TV Casualty are both kind of like that.
Yeah, they're basically Black Flag songs.
I like Angel Hybrid Moments, Last Caress, and I can't believe no one mentioned their cover of This Magic Moment or the Monster Mash.
Also a good one.
But This Magic Moment, now that's the money.
I'm just gonna go. I know we already talked about it already, but I think Hybrid Moments would probably be my other one. It's just like their classic song. If you know of the Misfits, you probably know of them through Hybrid Moments. So.
Did we just decide we're like, no, this one's too good to use right now?
Well, I think everybody knows it. We wouldn't really be like adding anything.
That's true.
We just picked Hybrid Moments. Like, we could put it on here, and that would be dandy. But we're making a playlist of the Misfits, not 3 Hybrid Moments in a row.
I Turned Into a Martian, also good. Astro Zombies, also good.
Well, Tyler, if people want your skulls, where can they find them?
Hey, everybody, you can find me inside Illustration Work at RudePets.club. And, of course, you can always find me on the spooky socials as Pets Club on Instagram and Twitter. The scariest place of all.
He has been doing some, like,
Even
very
more the deviant art.
topical
Spooky pets?
Yeah.
Dead Pets Club.
Dead Pets Club.
Find me there's a Dead Pets Club. Twiddle.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Danzig puppy. Has a little devil lock.
Oh yeah.
Devil Lock Dog?
You should
Maybe.
do like you should do like a Doyle
I'm so into it.
like a Doyle alligator or something. Did you
Let me get through this week. We'll see what happens.
I also learned this week before I go on there, I think, interesting fun fact. Did you know that the whole band was arrested in New Orleans for grave robbing?
Yes, I saw that too. That's a hilarious Misfits fun fact.
Expected. Not surprised at all.
They're so hardcore.
Gotta commit to your art.
Well, Sean, if people want to rob some graves with you, where can they do that?
No, don't even talk to me because I don't want to do that. But if you're not into that and you just want to hang out or talk, you can find me on Instagram at Sean_Adelray.
And if you're a teenager from Mars and you don't care, you can find me on the socials as TC Olmstead. And we'll be back with 3 more spooky songs next week on another episode of No Repeat.